levanta un pueblo entero lleno de angustia, luchando por su digna patria, lograda con el coraje, desgarrando cada día con sus principios éticos el vil imperio, su adversario político, que siempre ha combinado el engaño con la ignorancia para darse a conocer a toda voz. Pero el mundo conoce su verdadero rostro, porque cuando un pueblo enérgico y viril llora, la injusticia tiembla.
Viewed as a proposal to the assembly here, we will be asking at the end of the reading, ask for a show of hands to indicate your approval. So this is a letter that will be addressed to United States President Barack Obama at the White House. We also will, by the way, be sending a similar letter to the Attorney General, Eric Holder. Dear President Obama, the People's Tribunal and Assembly for Justice for the Cuban Five was held in Toronto, September 21st to 23rd, 2012, in the Toronto City Hall Council chamber with the participation of everyday citizens and many organizations, including major unions from 3 countries. Greetings of support were presented on behalf of the City of Toronto and were also received from Italy, Germany, Norway, and England. After due consideration of the evidence presented and the impact statement of victims, the magistrates of conscience, who are representatives and participants from the United Kingdom, United States, Quebec, and the rest of Canada, and include Aboriginal participants, arrived at the following conclusions. The United States government must expedite the immediate release of the Cuban Five, Ramon Labañino, Gerardo Hernandez, Antonio Guerrero, and Fernando Gonzalez, and the speedy return to his homeland of Rene Gonzalez, on parole in Florida since October 7, 2011. This conclusion is based on facts presented at the tribunal regarding unprecedented and arbitrary actions that were taken by the court in Miami during the trial of the Five. Payments were made by the United States government to certain journalists to whip up hysteria against the Five during their trial. The prosecution produced no evidence that the Five had engaged in any actions damaging to the United States itself. No person was injured, nor was any property damaged. No secret documents were sought nor obtained by any of the Five that would in any way encroach on the security of the United States, according to testimony by military personnel of the United States who were witnesses at the trial. With no evidence to support the charge against Gerardo Hernandez of conspiracy to commit murder, the prosecutor himself requested that the judge withdraw that particular charge against Hernandez. Despite this, Hernandez was convicted of the charge. Furthermore, the charges laid against the others were conspiracy charges, which do not require the typically high standard of truth. Evidence that may exonerate Gerardo Hernandez of any responsibility regarding the downing of 4 airplanes is being withheld from the courts by the U.S. government. As admitted by the appeals court, the sentences imposed on these peaceful men were egregiously long, and the court decided to vacate the sentences of 3 of the 5 Cubans. At resentencing, those sentences were subsequently replaced only with somewhat reduced sentences that remained way out of line with the one charge that the men had admitted to, namely not having registered as agents of a foreign power. These 5 men were responding to the tragedies wreaked upon their people through terrorist activities by certain extremist groups in southern Florida, resulting in deaths, severe injuries, and maiming. The information obtained by the 5 about intended terrorist acts saved scores of lives not only in Cuba but also in the United States. On behalf of all of the participants gathered at this event and representing millions of people, we appeal to your good offices to immediately release these men who have suffered unduly harsh and protracted punishment while in prison for their actions to counter terrorist activity. Voicing voicing the concerns of these millions across the world and the hundreds attending this tribunal and assembly, and representing many people of the United States, Canada, Quebec, and the United Kingdom, we ask you to let the Cuban Five return home now and thus put an end to a sorry chapter in the relationship between the two countries.
Se levanta un pueblo entero lleno de angustia, luchando por su digna patria, lograda con el coraje, desgarrando cada día con sus principios éticos el vil imperio, su adversario político, que siempre ha combinado el engaño con la ignorancia para darse a conocer a toda voz. Pero el mundo conoce su verdadero rostro, porque cuando un pueblo enérgico y viril llora, la injusticia tiembla.